if you take a look at BlackBerry stock based off the graph overall, there is a chance it could go lower. But there's also a reason why you might want to buy now, not necessarily at this price point exactly, more specifically between $9.88 or $9.88 US dollar share price to the low $10 price point, which is relatively around that ballpark right now anyway. Now, there is a reason why you might want to enter at this price point or wait a little bit longer, and I'll explain the reasoning for both. This video will be useful for now till end of September, which is the next earnings release date. And that coincides when we're expecting that the patent sale will come through. And that is significant because based off my last videos, I've explained why potentially that's going to be a minimum $3 US share price jump for the stock, if not more, because I'm expecting that to be on the low side. Plus the fear of missing out too, the ball will start rolling, share price will go up, so on and so forth. So as to why you might want to wait, and I think this is potentially risky because the patent sale could hypothetically come out anytime, but I'm expecting it more closer to the earnings date, which is the end of September, because that's what it was communicated within the second last conference call that we had as of right now, where they stated that it's going to come out between Q1, Q2, most likely closer to, if not on Q2, which is the end of September. So if you're thinking that you want to wait until it goes lower, that is possible. So you could look up here where this upward trend support line, this blue line, goes all the way up to this point right here. We came down, bounced off as support in December and January. So December 2020, January 2021, went up to the upside, came back down, bounced off as support again in May of 2021, went up to the upside and coming down. Now we were stuck with this downward trend resistance line, not here at this point, but more at this point right here, and then a couple times here. Or sorry about that, a couple times we had false breakouts, but you could see it was prevalent when we went up to it, got knocked down, went up to it, got knocked down, up, knocked down. Yes, false breakout there, but went up, knocked down, went up, knocked down, broke through it. So this is one of the reasons why I'm thinking you might want to just enter now because of patent sale as well, but I'll continue later on with that later on. But more of the reason why you might want to wait hypothetically for the stock to go lower. I'm showing you because it is possible. I'm not necessarily advising for it, but it is possible. So just to visually show, we would essentially at one point come down to bounce off the support level to go to the upside, and then indicating that now is a great, once it bounces off, that's a great time to enter. Pretty much, in my opinion, guaranteed. Again, quick disclaimer before I continue with the additional parts of the video. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a professional. Everything I do share with you is just my opinion. It is not advice. So please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. Now, if you think that this thing's just going to drop like a rock and hit the support level right now in the next few trading days, which we close at 10:29 on August 6, 2021. So the next trading day, I believe, is August 9th, 2021. If we were to drop right off the bat and then bounce off the support level like that, you're looking at an entry position between 870, 880, 890. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. If anything, it's going to prolong and continue on the cycle between hitting 960, 970, 980 to 1090 to $11 price point back and forth that we see in this channel right here. So you can see it comes down, bounces off the 970, 960, 980 range, and then goes up to the 1090, $11 price point range and comes back down, so on and so forth. So in a way, if anything, because I think at one point it will hit this upward trend support level, but I've shown in the past videos, if it takes too long, like end of September, you're looking at what is going to say, potentially 980 to the low $10 price point. Like I've stated in my second last video, I think one of the reasons why you might want to enter now is you're just basically avoiding the inevitable, where it's just going to just keep doing this all the way until end of September, which is the earnings date, and you could have entered the same price point that you could have entered earlier. But for technically the best investors, if you can get into another investment and then get back in later to BlackBerry, that would be the better move. But it's really hard to hypothetically day trade really well where you just might be wasting time. So it's all up to what you want to do. So most likely, let's just say if it were continuing, because it broke this downward trend resistance line, let's just say it continued on a downward cycle outside of this downward trend resistance line, then by the time it hits mid-August, maybe close to the end of August, you're looking at entering at the low $9 price point. There's that case. And then potentially if it does again later on, like I stated, 980 to the low $10 price point. Now, this is the reason why I think potentially you might not want to wait for that, because there are signs that it's pointing to reversing to the upside. And this is what I kind of wanted to show. So either the cycle will continue between the 980 to the low $10 price point, or sorry about that, 980 to the 1090 to the $11 price point, but more specifically the 1 year chart. this 1 year chart right here, this is the MACD line. So this indicates if it's a bearish or bullish movement. Right now, it crossed over to the bullish movement sooner than I thought it was going to. So I think the last video I posted was right about here. I thought it was probably going to start reversing to the downside still because we were stuck between this downward trend resistance line. So I guess, yeah, that was more of an indication. So it was right about here when I made the last video. Still stuck underneath the downward trend resistance line. I thought it was going to keep us down until we bounced off this upward trend support line right here, this blue line right here, which might be difficult to see, and then start going up to the upside fully. And with the mix of the 5 year chart too. The 5 year chart was also, so this was in the negative, indicating a bearish movement. It was not optimistic. To me, it was indicating more downside overall, but not for the prolonged period, but just at least for a quick period before the patent sale comes out, earnings comes out, and all that stuff, and then bounce up to the upside. So looking at this indicates it's a bullish movement. It's optimistic. It's in the positive. So it could be reversing to the upside. Now you still have time to enter. This is why I'm saying that not necessarily you need to enter at this price point specifically. You have time to wait until it hits like the 970, maybe 960, 980 range, and the low $10 price point. All those price points are a good entry point in my opinion, because for the following reasons. So the 1 year chart crossover to the positive, indicating bullish movement, all stuff. And then the 5 year chart. So now the 5 year chart is still in the bearish movement. It is still negative. It's not optimistic, but you could see right here in the past. So here it was in the bearish movement. It was not optimistic and all that stuff. And you would think that it's not a great time to enter. But once it starts curving up, that's the technically the bare minimum. Now that's not a guarantee that it's a great time to enter because it could still continue to the downside. But if you're in anticipation with the 1 year chart mixed in where it crossed over to a positive, indicating that we're going to start slowly going to the positive, then that could be a good sign for the 5 year chart where it's going to start, once it starts curving up a little bit more, that's a great time to enter where it's like right here. So let me just visually show. I know I'm jumping all over the place a little bit, but hopefully this makes sense. So right about here is the start of the run up, right? Back in May 17th, 2021, if the date is relatively exact, because this is a 5 year chart, everything's compressed. That was when it started curving up, and then you would have entered at the bare minimum and then had a nice run up. So yes, it didn't cross over for the MACD line to the positive, and it was not bullish yet, but it was the start of the run up, right? Now, you can't be, like, for example, I've shown in the past, you got to be careful because there's times that the bars become a lighter shade of red and they become smaller as well. I'd say a better indication is when it becomes lighter shade of red and smaller. So if you saw that drop right there, so for example, let me zoom in. So you can see how the bars were the same size right about here, but until it dropped and it was lighter shade of red, that would have been a good time to anticipate, okay, now it's a good time to enter. So to put everything together, and there's a little bit more stuff I have to say too as well, but to put everything together, if you're looking at the 1 year chart, you could enter now because the MACD line's in the positive, but you could wait also at the same time for it to drop at one point to bounce up to the upside. Now, this doesn't look clean, but if you were to look at this upward trend support line, it came down, bounced off support, came down, bounced off support. If I adjusted this, because this is not for the 1 year chart, but let's just adjust it right now anyway, which I can't, but it doesn't matter. Hopefully you get the idea. Bounce off the support line to go to the upside, and at one point you're expecting to do the same. And if that's the case, anywhere between, if it completely varies based off your risk tolerance. I just think because the patent sale could come out at any time, I don't think the risk to reward is worth the wait to get in extremely low to the 870, 860, 890 range. I think it's fair game to wait for the between the 935 to 945 range, $9.35, $9.45 range. If you don't want to do that much of a risk, 955, it was like 950, 960 range. I think that is fair game if you wanted to wait for that. You could get into the low nines. That is extremely rewarding to wait for the low nines, but the problem is if it wasn't for the patent sale, I would say just wait. That would be the best bet. But because the patent sale could hypothetically come out at any time, even though I personally think it's going to come out at the end of September during the end of the earnings time frame, the next earnings time frame coming out during the conference call would be announced. But because that variable could come out at any time, it makes it risky to wait for the low $9 price point, especially for the 870, 860, 880, even though that is still in play. So that is still in play, but I think it's just risky. If you don't want to risk it, I think anywhere between 980 to the low $10 price point is a great entry position price point. So there's that. Hopefully this all helps out. If I feel like I missed something, but if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. And if you like videos like this, consider dropping a like. It does help the channel, so thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. If you like videos like this overall and financial videos and et cetera, like stocks, consider subscribing so you'll be notified when I do upload those videos. And that's basically it. Thanks again for your awesome support. Appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.